I shot my mother. Not with a gun, God. That would have been too merciful. Too quick, but with words. The kind that slice deeper than any bullet, leaving wounds that fester for years. It started in that godforsaken probate courtroom in downtown Chicago. The air thick with the stale scent of old coffee and desperation, where the judge's gavel cracked like a thunderclap, declaring her estate finally settled after 6 months of hell. And there it was, on the flickering projector screen for all us vultures to see, my name, Dakota Hale, scrawled in her loopy handwriting as the sole beneficiary of everything, the sprawling lake house in Wisconsin, the brownstone on the Gold Coast, the offshore accounts she'd sworn didn't exist. Not a dime to my brother, Ethan, the golden boy she'd always favored, the one who'd stood by her side while I rotted in prison for a crime that was hers. She looked at me that last time, in the hospice room with the beeping machines mocking her labored breaths, and spat it out like venom. You'll get nothing, Dakota. Nothing but the scraps you deserve for turning your back on family. Her eyes, those ice blue daggers that had haunted my nightmares since I was a kid, bored into me as if she could will the words into reality. I'd leaned in close, my voice a whisper over the hiss of oxygen. We'll see about that,
Mom.
We'll goddamn see. And now, here we were, the truth spilling out like blood from a fresh cut, and Ethan's face across the aisle twisting into something feral. Something that screamed he'd known all along, or worse, that he'd helped bury it. It wasn't always this way. Growing up in that cookie-cutter suburb of Evanston, Illinois, where the lawns were manicured greener than envy and every minivan hid a skeleton or two, Mom, Eleanor Hale, was the queen bee. PTA president, junior league darling, the woman who could charm a room full of wasps into funding her latest charity gala while slipping bribes under the table to grease the wheels for her real estate empire. Dad died when I was 10, heart attack, they said, but whispers in the neighborhood hinted at something darker, like maybe he'd found out about her side hustles. I never dug too deep. Kids don't. Not when Mom's the one tucking you in with stories of how we'd conquer the world together. Ethan and I were her pawns from the start. He was 2 years older. The athlete. The charmer. The one who got the new truck for his 16th birthday while I scraped by on hand-me-downs and dreams of escaping to art school. But I was the smart one. The fixer. The daughter who noticed the late-night calls. The locked drawers. The way Mom's hands trembled after board meetings. By 18, I'd hacked her email, nothing fancy, just a forgotten password, and uncovered the first thread of the web, embezzlement from her firm, siphoning client funds into dummy accounts to cover gambling debts in Atlantic City. She'd caught me once, deleting traces to protect her, and instead of gratitude, she'd slapped me so hard my lips split. Family sticks together. Dakota, she'd hissed. Or they get buried. That's how it began. The lie that chained me. In 2012, the feds came knocking. Her partner, some sleazy developer named Victor Lang, had flipped, spilling everything about the $2.3 million fraud scheme. Mom played the victim card masterfully, tearful press conferences, prayers on the nightly news, but the evidence pointed straight to the junior associate who'd signed off on the transfers. Me. I was 22, fresh out of Northwestern with a business degree I hated. Interning at her firm to learn the ropes. She'd forged my signatures, planted the digital footprints, and when the cuffs clicked on my wrists in that glass-walled conference room, she'd mouthed "I'm sorry" from the doorway, her eyes already calculating the next move. I took the fall. Pleaded guilty to felony fraud. 5 years at Logan Correctional Center downstate. Because the plea deal spared her the spotlight. Spared Ethan the family shame. Think of your brother, her lawyer had urged. The one she'd later marry and divorce for fun. He's got scholarships. A future. You're tough. Dakota, you can handle it. And God. I did. I handled the catcalls in the yard. The shank threats in the laundry. The nights staring at the concrete ceiling wondering if freedom tasted like betrayal. Ethan visited once. Early on. His face boyish and guilty under the fluorescent buzz. She's a mess without you, he lied, sliding a care package of contraband smokes through the slot. This'll blow over. We'll fight it when you're out. Out in 2017. I was a ghost. No job lined up, felony records a bitch in corporate America, renting a shoebox in Pilsen. Slinging lattes at a hipster cafe while Mom rebuilt her empire. Rebranded as a philanthropist with TED Talks on resilience. Ethan? He'd lawyered up at her alma mater. Clerking for a federal judge by 25. The prodigal son. They threw me crumbs, a check here, an invite to Christmas there, but it was all theater. I'd see the looks at family gatherings, pity from aunts, suspicion from cousins, Mom's hand on Ethan's arm like I was the stain they couldn't bleach out. Then cancer hit her. Stage 4. Pancreatic. The kind that chews you up in months. Hospice called me in October 2024. Her voice a rasp on the line. Dakota.
Come home.
We need to talk. I drove up from the city. The Lakeshore Drive lights blurring through tears I didn't want to shed. She looked like a husk in that bed. Tubes snaking like accusations. Ethan hovered in the corner, scrolling his phone, pretending not to hear. I was wrong, she croaked, gripping my hand with surprising strength. About everything. The will. It's yours. All of it. For what I did. I laughed, bitter as black coffee. Redemption now? After you let me rot? She shook her head, eyes glazing. Ethan knows. He always did.
But you.
You're the real Hale. Blood and bone. Her grip slackened, and she was gone 2 days later, leaving a void that echoed with unfinished screams. The reading was a circus. Our extended family crammed into that oak-paneled office on Michigan Avenue. The lawyer, some silver-haired fossil named Hargrove, clearing his throat like he was announcing the apocalypse. Ethan sat ramrod straight, his Brooks Brothers suit crisp, while I slouched in thrift store jeans, nursing a hangover from drowning regrets at a dive bar. To my son, Ethan Hale, Hargrove intoned, I leave my vintage Rolex collection and a trust fund of $50,000 for his continued legal pursuits. Murmurs rippled, generous. But not the kingdom we'd expected. Then, to my daughter, Dakota Hale, I bequeath the entirety of my remaining estate, the Hale Properties portfolio, valued at $12.4 million, the family residence in Evanston, the vacation home in Door County, and all liquid assets, including international holdings. The room froze. Ethan's jaw unhinged, his eyes snapping to me like I'd stolen his soul. What the fuck, he muttered, loud enough for the cousins to gasp. Hargrove slid the documents across, his voice steady. Mrs. Hale amended this 2 weeks before her passing. It's ironclad. I felt it then. The first rush of that dark thrill, the revenge uncoiling in my gut like a serpent waking. Mom hadn't just cut him out, she'd weaponized the truth. Whatever it was, to gut him from beyond the grave. But as Ethan lunged across the table, paper scattering like confetti at a funeral, I realized this wasn't over. It was just beginning. And the secrets she'd buried? They were about to drag us all under. Ethan cornered me in the parking garage that afternoon, the echo of his loafers slapping concrete like accusations. Rain slicked the windy city streets above, drumming on the levels like impatient fingers. But down here, it was just us, siblings turned strangers. The air heavy with exhaust and unspoken rot. "This is bullshit. Dakota," he snarled, jabbing a finger at my chest. Close enough, I could smell his cologne. The same one Dad used to wear. She was doped up, out of her mind on morphine. "You think I'm gonna let you waltz off with everything? After you ghosted us for years?" I shoved his hand away, my pulse thundering. "Ghosted? I did 5 years for her. Ethan. 5 goddamn years because you and Mommy Dearest decided I was the disposable one." His face crumpled for a split second. Guilt?
Nah.
More like the mask slipping, before hardening into that lawyer's poker face he'd perfected. "You took the deal. No one held a gun to your head. And now this. It's fraud. I'll contest it. Tie it up in appeals till you're begging for scraps." He stormed off to his Audi, tires screeching as he peeled out, leaving me soaked in the downpour I chased after him into. Back in my Pilsen walk-up, I cracked the envelope Hargrove had slipped me, a personal letter from Mom, dated the day before she died. Her handwriting wobbled, but the words burned straight. "Dakota, my girl. Ethan isn't mine. Not by blood. Your father. He wasn't the drunk who dropped dead in 03. Victor Lang was. He knew about the money. Threatened to take you both. I framed you to keep him quiet, but the truth's in the safe deposit box at First Chicago. Keys in the lake house attic. Burn this after. Forgive me if you can. Love always. Ellie." Holy shit. Victor Lang, her partner, her lover, was my real dad?
And Ethan. Adopted?
Swapped him like a ringer to cover the affair? My hands shook as I lit the paper over the sink, watching flames lick the edges till ash swirled down the drain. This wasn't just inheritance, it was a bomb, ticking with enough shrapnel to shred the Hale facade. But forgiveness? That ship had sunk in the prison showers. Years ago.
No.
This was my lever. My way to pry open the lies and make them pay. First stop, the lake house. Door County in November is a ghost town. Tourists fled. Leaves rotting under gray skies. The kind of quiet that amplifies your demons. I drove up in my beat-up Civic. The radio spitting static about some bear's meltdown. Windows fogging with my breath. The key under the mat turned easy, but inside it smelled of mildew and regret. Faded quilts on the couch. Mom's lipstick stains on coffee mugs. Photos of us kids faking smiles at summer barbecues. Ethan's lacrosse trophies lined the mantel, mocking me as I climbed to the attic. Dust choked the air up there, beams creaking under my weight. I rummaged through boxes of Christmas ornaments and tax returns, heart slamming, till I found it, a rusted metal box wedged behind insulation, padlocked shut. The key from Mom's letter fit like fate. Inside, a DNA test from 1995. Yellowed but conclusive, Ethan's swab matched a random donor. Not Dad. A stack of love letters from Victor. Florid and filthy. Detailing motel trysts in Milwaukee. And the kicker, a notarized confession from Mom, admitting she'd doctored the fraud docs to pin it on me. Dated 2012. Witnessed by Hargrove. To protect my family, it read. Ethan must never know.
Protect?
This was scorched earth. I pocketed the key evidence. Locked up. and headed back south, mind racing with plots. Confront Ethan outright? Leak it to the press? Watch his clerkship evaporate? Or play the long game? Use the will to bait him into cracking first. By the time I hit the Illinois border, I decided, slow poison. Invite him over for family reconciliation, dangle the estate like a carrot, then twist the knife when he least expects. He showed 2 days later, December 4th, at my door with a bottle of Glenfiddich and a manila folder, his opening salvo in the will contest. Truce, he said, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. We cracked the scotch on my sagging couch, the apartment's exposed brick walls closing in like a confessional. Small talk first. How's the barista life? Any boyfriends since parole? Then he pivoted. Look, Dakota. Mom was sick. Delusional. This inheritance? It's not right. We split it 50-50. Like always. I sipped slow, letting the burn steady me. Always? You mean like when you got the trust fund and I got barbed wire? His laugh was hollow. That was business. You were the weak link, too honest, too soft. Mom said you'd fold under pressure. Boom. Admission. Unwitting. I set my glass down.
Leaned in. And Victor?
What did he say when she confessed? Ethan froze, scotch midway to his lips. Victor? That prick's been dead 10 years. Car wreck. What's he got to do with? I pulled the DNA report, slid it across like a dealer's card. His eyes scanned, color draining.
This
is fake. Mom would have told me. Denial. Stage 1. I let him stew, then dropped the confession.
She did.
To Hargrove. Said you were the weak link if the truth came out. Adopted. Ethan. A placeholder for her dirty little secret. He bolted up, folder spilling, face a mask of rage and ruin. You bitch. You think this changes anything? I'll bury you in court, slander, extortion, whatever it takes. But his voice cracked, and as he yanked the door open, I saw it, the fracture, the boy who'd lost his anchor. Merry Christmas, brother, I called after him. Family sticks together, right? That night, sleep evaded me, ghosts whispering in the vents. Was I the villain now? Weaponizing pain for payback. Mom's letter burned in my memory, forgive if you can. But could I? The next morning, a text from an unknown number. We need to talk. About Eleanor.
V.L.
Victor Lang? But he was dead. Unless.
No.
Heart pounding. I searched obits, nothing. Then it hit. Victor's son. From a prior marriage. I'd forgotten the rumors. The half-brother shadow in Mom's past. This web was wider than I'd dreamed, and now it was tightening around my throat. The meat was set for a Wrigleyville dive. The kind of joint where Cubs fans drown losses in cheap drafts and anonymity. December 6th, wind whipping off the lake like a scorned lover. I pushed through the door into neon haze and the crackle of a jukebox crooning Springsteen. He was in the back booth, mid-40s, built like a retired linebacker with salt and pepper stubble and eyes that mirrored Mom's, sharp. Assessing. Dakota Hale, he rumbled, sliding a bud across unasked. Victor Lang Jr. Call me Vic. I slid in opposite, wary as a stray. How'd you know about the will? He chuckled, low and gravelly. Small world in Chicago real estate. Mom, Eleanor, had fingers in every pie. Mine included. Dad's wreck? Not so accidental. Brake lines cut. They ruled it suicide. But we knew. His gaze hardened. She owed him millions. Dakota. The affair. The kid swap, it was all leverage. When he threatened to go public, she pinned the fraud on you to discredit him first. Insurance payout covered the rest. My stomach twisted.
Ethan.
He's not. Vic shook his head. Adopted. Yeah. Dad's idea, legitimize the family without the mess. But Eleanor? She played us all. Used the money to build her empire. Left Dad penniless. He tapped a scarred knuckle on the table. I've got proof.
Tapes. Docs.
Enough to torch the will. Expose her as a fraud. But I want in half the estate. We split. You and me. Real blood. Tempting. A partner in the revenge. Someone who'd bled from the same vein. But trust? In this city of snakes? I countered. Why now? You've sat on this for years. He leaned back. Shadows pooling in his eyes. Saw the probate notice. Figured it's poetic. Hail legacy crumbling on her terms. But Ethan. He's sniffing around my firm. Asking questions. Thinks I'm the key to contesting. If he gets to me first, we're both screwed.
Ethan.
Always 3 steps ahead. Flipping alliances like cards. I pocketed Vic's burner number. Promised to think it over. And bolted into the sleet. Back home. Paranoia gnawed. Was this a setup? I combed the attic loot again. Cross-referencing dates. Victor's death synced with the fraud bust. Mom's confession a smokescreen to tie loose ends. She hadn't just betrayed me. She'd orchestrated a massacre. Bodies metaphorical, but no less dead. Next play. Bait Ethan deeper. I texted him a white flag. Truce dinner? My treat. Neutral ground. And picked Manny's Deli on state. The Formica table scarred from decades of deals. He arrived late. Tie loosened. Nursing a scotch neat. What's the angle? See? Suspicion dripped like the condensation on his glass. I played coy. Ordering pastrami towers we barely touched. The truth hurts.
Ethan.
But maybe we can rewrite it. Drop the contest. And I'll share 60-40. Your way. His fork paused midair. Why the generosity? Guilt over waving that fake DNA in my face. I shrugged. Casual as a bluff. Family. Or what's left. But Vic Lang's in town. Says hi. Boom, test shot. Ethan's eyes widened fractionally. The tell of a man cornered.
Lang?
That has been? He's grifting you. Dakota. Stay away. Too eager. Too slick. He knew. We parted uneasy. Him promising to consider, me tailing his cab to a high-rise in the Loop, Lang Properties. Vic's old firm. Now Ethan's hunting ground. Son of a bitch was already flipping. Courting Vic to undermine me. Rage boiled over. I needed leverage.
Fast.
That night, I hit the dark web, old prison connections, favors owed, and dug into Ethan's digital footprint. Buried under layers, emails from 2012. Him advising Mom on the plea deal. Coaching her to lean on Dakota's loyalty. He wasn't innocent. He was complicit. The puppeteer's apprentice. Armed, I drove to the lake house again. This time under cover of a blizzard that blanked the roads white. The attic safe yielded more, a ledger of payoffs. Ethan's initials on bribes to witnesses. But deeper. A photo album, us as kids. Victor grinning beside Mom at a picnic. A toddler Ethan oblivious. And a letter. Unsent. From Dad. Ellie, if you destroy her for this, you destroy us all. My real dad. Pleading for me. Tears stung. Hot and furious. Dawn broke gray as I confronted Vic via burner. Ethan's on you. We partner. Or I go nuclear, leak everything to the Tribune. He agreed. Voice tight. Boathouse.
Noon.
Bring the confession. But as I geared up, Ethan's text lit my phone. Found her play.
Meet me.
Or Vic gets the full story. Your forgery bullshit. Checkmate? No, stalemate. I raced north. Snow chains rattling. Mind a whirlwind of ifs. What if Vic was the snake? What if spilling it all freed me? But chained me to infamy? The boathouse loomed like a crypt on the frozen shore. Waves slapping pilings under ice floes. Vic waited inside. Lantern casting long shadows. A duffel of proof at his feet. Smart girl, he grunted, unzipping to reveal hard drives. Affidavits. Ethan's desperate. Offered me a cut to frame you as the will's forger. But blood's thicker. We clasped hands, allies forged in frost. Then the door splintered, Ethan. Wild-eyed. Glock and grip. Snow-dusted like a ghost. Hands up. Both of you frauds. Controversy incarnate. My brother. The lawman. Turned armed intruder. You think I didn't know about Dad, Victor? He spat at Vic. Mom told me everything. You're the bastard who drove him to it. Lies layered on lies. Vic lunged. Ethan fired. Warning shot. Splintering wood. I froze. Heart hammering. The air electric with split-second sins. Who to save?
Who to damn?
Chaos erupted in that boathouse like a bad noir reel, Vic tackling Ethan. The gun skittering across frozen planks. Lantern shattering in a bloom of flame that licked the dry beams. I dove for the weapon. Fingers numb on the trigger guard, as shouts tangled with the gale howling outside. He's lying, Vic bellowed, pinning Ethan's arm. Your mom poisoned him against me, said I was the embezzler. Ethan bucked, knee connecting with Vic's ribs. Shut up. You left us to rot after Dad's accident. Mom covered for you.
Me?
The fulcrum. Gun heavy in my palm. Pointing nowhere and everywhere. Snow swirled through the busted door, dousing the fire but chilling us to marrow. This was the climax Mom engineered from the grave. Us. Her fractured progeny. Clawing in the cold for scraps of truth. No heroes here, just survivors deciding who bleeds first. Enough, I screamed, voice cracking like the ice. Ethan. The ledger, your initials on the bribes. You knew about the frame job.
Vic.
The tapes, Dad begging Mom to stop the affair. You both profited. They stilled. Breaths ragged. Eyes locking on me like I held their verdicts. Ethan first. Voice raw. I was 18. Dakota. Protecting the family you. Her. The name. If we'd gone down together. What then? Street rats. Vic spat blood. And I watched my father die for her sins. Clawed back from nothing. This estate? Reparations. Reparations. The word hung. Controversial as a verdict in a divided jury room. Was Ethan's complicity loyalty or cowardice? Vic's alliance greed or justice? And me avenger or just another Hale? Poisoned by the vine? I lowered the gun. Not out of mercy, but calculus. We end this. No cops. No leaks. Split the pie 3 ways. Properties divvied. Accounts liquidated. But the secrets stay buried. Burn the evidence. Ethan laughed. Manic. You're as crooked as her. Vic nodded slow. Respect flickering.
Deal.
For Dad. We torched it all in a rusted barrel. Flames devouring paper ghosts as dawn bled pink over the lake. Driving back. The three of us in uneasy convoy. Ethan's Audi tailing my Civic. Vic's truck bringing up, I felt the weight lift. But not clean. Revenge tasted like ash. Satisfying. But it coated your throat. Weeks blurred into settlement. Lawyers haggled in smoke-filled rooms, metaphorically, vaping's the new vice. Carving the empire into slivers. Me the lake house. Ethan the brownstone. Vic the offshore cash. No headlines. No scandals. Hargrove greased the wheels with non-disclosures thicker than the snowdrifts. Christmas came quiet, me alone by the fire, toasting with Dad's old scotch. The photo album opened to that picnic shot. Victor's grin seemed genuine now. A ghost forgiving the living. But the twist? It hit New Year's Eve. A package on my doorstep, unmarked.
Heavy. Inside.
A flash drive and note in Mom's hand. Postmortem forgery? Play this. Dakota. The real end. Love. Ellie. Trembling. I plugged in. Her voice. Clear as confession. If you're watching, you've split it all. Good girl. But Ethan's mine, blood tested twice. Swapped labs to fool Vic. And you? Victor's. Yes. But I made the fraud real. You signed once. Drunk on my wine. Thinking it a joke. I amplified it. We're all guilty.
Kid.
Fly free. The room spun. No one right. No one wrong, just a chain of half-truths, each link forged in desperation. Ethan. Full brother after all, Vic. The outsider grasping me. The fool who'd inked her own cage. Debate raged in my skull. Burn it again. Or mail copies and watch the empire crumble anew. I chose the pyre. Flames dancing as 2025 ticked in. Fireworks bursting over the city like false promises. In the end, it wasn't tragedy or triumph, just American as apple pie and regret, a family fractured. Fortunes divvied. Secrets smoldering. Mom won from the dirt, forcing us to choose mercy over mayhem. Or did she? As I stared into the embers. Gun from the boathouse heavy in my lap, untraceable. Waiting, I wondered. Next betrayal. Who pulls the trigger?